Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the very first episode of the Doom Scroll podcast. And I am Cody, and I'm here with Calvin. So, little quick intro, little about us. Calvin, do you want to start? Who are you? What the fuck are we doing here?
I mean, I'm still trying to figure that out every single day, so I don't know if I can give you an honest answer on that. But I'm just a person living in the United States, doom scrolling every single day, wondering when the world's going to end, and hoping that things are going to get better. So, hopefully we can go through all those news topics weekly and figure out, what's really happening and what our thoughts about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm figuring it out too. So maybe we can just figure it out together on this podcast and weigh in, some opinions. Disclaimer, we don't have any, we're not like professionally trained in politics and stuff like that. But it's fun to, put our thoughts out there and do some potential critical thinking, hopefully. But yeah, I feel like, I've been doing, if anyone has followed me from any other point, usually I'm doing nutrition and fitness podcast topics and stuff, and just ready to branch out and do a little something different. And yeah, just, experiment with stuff, not sexually.
I mean, that could happen too,
Yeah, anything is possible.
Is this going on OnlyFans?
Could potentially, So if it gets a little X-rated, we know where to go. That's how we monetize, right? Two
Starting
trans
off great.
guys, one mic, that thing. So yeah. Oh yeah, we're trans. Not that that's like super duper important. I mean, but we are going to be, it does shape our perspective. So I feel like it's probably important for people to know. If there's any listeners that are trans, what's up? We're trans too. But anywho, yeah, I just hope people can relate, enjoy, and we can dive into things. So, Calvin, what is new for you this week? What has been going on in your life?
Well, I am getting over being sick. I had a great trip to Florida, which will probably be the last time I can ever safely go to Florida. But my wife and I went and celebrated their 30th birthday at the new Epic Universe park. So that was awesome. The fever afterwards, not so awesome, but still probably worth it. Yeah.
Did you get the vid, or is it something else?
I didn't get the COVID. No, I just it's probably I tend to get sick from flying, and I've been traveling a lot for work, so I basically had like 3 flights back to back, and I think it just messed with my sinuses. So
Gotcha.
yeah, it was not a fun time, but I'm bouncing back pretty quickly, so that's good.
Yeah, definitely good. So for those who don't know, I didn't. You sent me some photos and it just like looked like you were in Super Mario Brothers world. So for those who don't know, like what is it called? Universal what?
It's called Epic Universe, and it's Universal Studios' latest theme park that just opened a couple weeks ago, and it's got 4 different worlds within it. So you have the Super Mario World, which we have our own version in Universal Studios Hollywood, but it's not as big. And then it's got their Ministry of Magic Harry Potter world, so that's supposed to be 1920s France, which is really cool. Had a great ride. And then they have their How to Train a Dragon world, which was very immersive. They have actual, like, not actual, but robotic, but life-looking dragons, walking around, and you get to pet them. It was pretty amazing. And then the last one is their Dark Universe. So it's where they have all the classic Universal monsters. So Dracula, the Wolfman, the Invisible Man. But it's like a dark Frankenstein castle, and it's pretty awesome place. I would say that theme park is probably the closest to competing with Disney because of how immersive it is.
Yeah, it sounds fun. I haven't been to an amusement park Since I was like in junior high. Yeah, it's been a while. I don't have
So
fun,
we,
obviously.
so we need to take you to a we need to go to a theme park.
Yeah, like I went right when California Adventure had basically just opened. All that it consisted of was the California Dreamin' or Screamin' or whatever roller
Mhm.
coaster, and then a Bug's Life and like the water raft one, and that is about all that was there at the
Yeah,
time. So
California Streaming. The technically the ride is still there, but now that's the Incredicoaster, because they changed that whole area into Pixar, and thankfully the it's a Bug's Life little show is gone because that was nightmare fuel. So that is
I
that is
loved
no
that
longer
one.
that is no longer there. There's no spiders coming down and from the ceiling on you. Yeah, I think that area is what replaced that. I think that's now the Avengers campus. So yeah, you definitely need to go.
Yeah, it's like every time I mean, we want to go, and every time we say it, it's just like it never. It's so expensive, and it's just a lot. And I'm like, I have no energy for that. I'm old, so
Yeah,
one day.
you have to go with you have to go at the right time. I've definitely learned with Disney the best time to go is usually right after New Year's, so like the first couple weeks in January, and then usually September till mid October while kids are in school. It's usually the best time to go. It's not super hot. Kids are back in school, and I'm learning very quickly that I hate kids. So
Well, it's harder at amusement parks. Even back in the day in junior high, I remember like dodging strollers was a sport. It felt
oh
like
yeah.
everyone was like bumping into your legs or giving you flat tires with the wheels and stuff, and strollers everywhere. It was a lot. So yeah.
Well, that, and I just feel like this could be the back in my day, but when I was a kid, like I just felt like kids were more respectful. Like you had like kids going crazy a little bit, but they're like I feel now like kids don't know manners, and so like we were in the Super Mario area, and the whole part of that theme park is like you wear a wristband, and they have like the little bricks that you can go up and like collect coins, and like you earn coins throughout the park to do different things. And my wife was going up and was hitting the bricks, and this little kid walked up, smacked their hand, and was like, "My turn," and like just pushed away. And the dad just looked at us and went like, no responsibility. Like I had kids like kicking me like while we were waiting in line, and like just running into me, and like no parents. Like there was nothing. It was
That's crazy.
Yeah, it
I,
was not good.
I feel like a part of that, like, I mean, we can, assume what the difference is, now. But I feel like part of it is like an overcorrection from, what like our generation of parents did. And it was like, you know, now it's considered basically abuse. And
Yeah,
so it's almost like this overcorrection of like, we were disciplined so much. Now we're not disciplining basically at all. And then in
yeah,
turn, you're just creating these little monsters that you never say no to. And it's not going to turn out well because there's
yeah.
no structure or boundaries. And those are still needed. And just, uh, I feel like they're growing up to be what the internet is, which is people just hurling insults at each other and
Hmm.
having no respect for each other. So I'm like, is it just kind of like carry over into real life? Because at least when you're on the internet, you think this doesn't happen in real life. People don't come up to you and just start insulting you because of how
Hmm.
you look or etc. And I'm like, is this going to just be the thing? Like people are just like, I'm just going to tell you what I think right now.
Well, yeah. I mean, and also, so many kids these days. For me, I was a left at home type of kid. I was raised by a single parent, so I was just home by myself and watch TV or whatever. But kids now where it's like iPad, and they're just constantly watching, TikTok or YouTube, and their role models are like these crazy people doing like funny skits, like because that's what gets popular. So that's what they're seeing as like normality is these like crazy stunts or being rude to people or pranking people, and they think that's what's normal or that's what makes them cool. And I think that it changes how people develop.
Oh yeah, definitely. And they're just constantly stimulated.
Mhm.
We used to go on car rides with no entertainment at all. We just had to sit there and play, 99 bottles of beer on the wall,
Yeah.
or, uh, what's it called? Like where you like I Spot or
I
IC,
Spy.
whatever.
Yep.
I Spy. Yeah, I can't even remember shit. But it's such a different world. We were
Mhm.
not constantly stimulated with entertainment at all times. We had breaks. We would go outside. There was nothing to do. We used to get bored. I feel like
Mhm.
kids, you know, when they still get bored, but I'm like, how could you get bored as a kid these days? There is everything at your
Mhm.
fingertips. You can have constant, conversation with your friends. Like you're on the internet. You can hang out via the internet. Before it was like, if you weren't with your friends physically, you were alone. There
Mhm.
was no connection. And you had to entertain yourself. You had to have an imagination and like play with your toys and like
Uh-huh.
kind of be a little crazy.
Yeah.
So it's interesting now. And I know we probably sound like, like previous generations where it's like, oh, we didn't have, all the TV channels, and we used to listen to the radio, or I used to walk to school 15 miles in the snow. Now we're like, man, these kids these days, they're always just on their iPads and phones and stuff. But I feel like it's different in just like the impact that it has mentally, than any TV you can only watch for so long. Uh, then like all the daytime TV popped up, and as a kid you got bored because you're like, I don't want to watch The Price is Right, or Jerry Springer was kind of fun at times, but not everyone's parent let them watch that. But yeah, anyways.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when, we didn't have, you know, I was there before TiVo and, before streaming. So it was like you watched what was on that night at
Hmm.
that specific time. And if you missed it, you missed it. There was no rewatching it. And you would like, hurry to eat dinner so you could watch your favorite show, whether it was like Dawson's Creek or Buffy coming on. And, and then the second it was like commercial break, you ran to the bathroom and tried to get back before it came back on. And yeah, now, we don't have that anymore.
No.
There's
And
I tell my wife that if we ever do have kids, I'm like, they're not going to have an iPad, they're not going to watch streaming services. We're going to get a VCR and VHS players, and they're going to learn patience because they're going to have to rewind it every time they want to watch their show.
that is definitely a thing that the next generation does not have, is patience, because they get everything instantly. And even our generation, because we kind of had to grow up with some patience, but then we got
Mhm.
impatient as we had more things like Amazon Prime delivery and
Oh yeah.
streaming. We stream everything. I don't have the patience for cable. I will never watch cable again. I can't stand to watch the commercials.
Oh, even with streaming, like we pay extra money so we don't get the ads, and if we still have
Same.
ads, it's like we're like, I'd have to wait 30 seconds. Like, damn, we used to have to wait like 5 minutes. So
Yeah.
like we still have it better than we did, but yeah, our patience is dwindling because of how media and entertainment has changed over the years.
Yeah, honestly, I think it probably has to do with a lot of the ADHD diagnoses these
Hmm.
days. And like, I'm not shitting on that. I've also been diagnosed with it, but I'm like, I can see how all the constant stimulation can contribute to that, because it's hard to focus now. People
Hmm.
cannot focus for shit. Like people don't even read Instagram captions anymore. They can't even watch a video past like maybe 10 seconds unless it's like drama filled. So we're just constantly looking for drama. We're looking for something to keep our attention. Gone are the days where we could like watch a show without also watching our phone at the same
Oh yeah.
time.
I'm really bad at that. Like I have to like make a thing to like put my phone away and out of sight because I like
Same.
it's like a withdrawal. Like you have to constantly be doing something, even if you're watching something that's really engaging. You know, you still have to be doing something else.
Yep. Yeah, it's almost like a craving, like you would, like previously, maybe you would want to eat something while you're watching TV, which I still would want to do, but you can only do that for so long. So then the phone kind of replaces that. So you like need entertainment for your entertainment for when the show gets slow, or it's just like you need that like constant dopamine hit. And it's not great for us. It's not.
Nope.
So, anyways, moving on from that topic.
What's new with you, Cody?
Oh, I mean, not a whole lot. I'm just tired. I haven't been sleeping very well, so I'm trying to like get my body to body again. And I just had so much stress from last year, and I'm used to being a stress case because that's just me. But I think the last, I for a little context, I like hired a business coach for my business. I'm a nutrition fitness coach. And, first of all, lesson being, I didn't need it. I just need to like learn to trust myself more and not, basically seek validation for things I already know, but also to, lots of empty promises. And $24,000 later, not only did my business not grow, it shrank because the economy, you can't control everything. And it just wasn't aligned with my values. So I would say never hire a business coach, but if you do, make sure they're aligned with your values, because if they're not, it's not going to work. But I was stuck in a year-long contract that I could not get out of unless I wanted to be sued. And she would sue you not just for what you owed her, but and some. She'll charge you interest. She'll charge you more if you do like a chargeback or for late payments. So it was pretty bullshit. That's a red flag number one. If someone makes you sign a year-long contract, run, because it means their retention rate is shit for a reason. That's why I don't even do contracts with my coaching, because I don't want people to stay if they don't want to stay. Like, why would I want to work with someone who didn't want to be here? So yeah, it was basically just donating $2,000 a month to some fucking stranger who was just living her best life while taking my money. So definitely very stressful, and just, trying to stay afloat and pay all the bills while paying her for nothing. That takes a toll on your body. So, my body's been pretty resilient, but I think with age and just with so much stress, it's finally like, nah, dude, we cannot push through this one. So it's like having to take a little bit of a step back with training, take the volume down, listen to my body, rest a bit more, especially since I'm not sleeping very well. So that's what I'm working on. It's not easy because I don't like slowing down. So it's very frustrating. That's been my life. I don't know how much longer it will be. I'm trying to like do what I need, so it's not just prolonged more. So anyways, that's kind of depressing, but that's been what I've been up to.
It's not depressing. It's real life. Unfortunately, I think that's where a lot of people are in the same situation where a lot of us are trying to find what's going to, make us successful or make us happy. And we like put our hearts and, our finances into, finding that. And there are a lot of people that take advantage of that, unfortunately.
Yeah. I'm pretty, I think business coaches basically just, they prey on people with insecurities, and they know how to get to you. So that's why it showed me the kind of coach I never want to be. Not that I plan on being a business coach, because I think it's MLM in disguise, because it's basically like you charge your clients so much they have no other choice but to become a business coach to pay off the bills in order to pay you. So yeah, that's just a caution to anyone who's thinking of hiring a business coach. Do your research, and don't do it. Just don't do it.
Don't do it.
Yeah. Save your money. You're smarter than you think. So yeah. But did you want to move into our topics for today?
Yeah. So I think, first first thing that we want to talk about, which has been an issue for a while on social media, but I've caught it more recently on my TikTok scrolls, is the whole Lily Tino situation. Which, if you don't know who Lily Tino is, she is a trans TikToker, but she is famous for going into public spaces, especially Disneyland or Disney World, and openly talking about trans surgeries in public areas, which is not appropriate. So there has now been a movement to get her banned off of TikTok. I believe there's also a movement to try and get her banned from Disney properties. Um, for her most recent stunt, which she was taking videos or photos inside the women's restroom in Disney World, where there was actual people in the background. So yeah,
I did look her up. I'm not huge on TikTok. Probably gonna change that. I just don't want to, feed into the more attention grabbing stuff we were just talking about, which is like part of the reason I've avoided it. But also, I don't know. I've always been more drawn to Instagram. It's more organized. Like I already know how to like find things and stuff. Whereas TikTok, it's just like you just keep swiping, and so kind of it's a little different in how you're building your feed.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I looked her up. I have seen some videos floating around about her, so I just want to specifically go to her page to see it firsthand, because you never want to like form your opinion on just people redistributing people's content and all that sort of thing. And I saw the Disney one. I did notice, I don't know if this is new, but she did block out people's faces with emojis. I'm not sure if that was like a recreated one, if there was an original one where she didn't do that.
I think that must be a recreated one, because from what I've seen is someone noticed themselves in the photo and is now, I think, is trying to press charges.
Okay. Yeah. Then maybe like she went back and did that and reposted it, because I noticed it was one of the more recent posts that she made. And so I was just like, oh, how long ago was this kind of thing? Because I'm pretty sure I saw it like at least a couple weeks ago. But yeah. So my opinion, yeah, definitely not appropriate. I felt like maybe she was trying to do that because of the whole, Nancy Mace bathroom shenanigans and just all the uproar about it. So I figured she was kind of like pushing up against that. But then when you look at her other content, it's not the greatest representative of the trans community, and I think that's the part that makes it the hardest.
Well, I think you have to look at, like, it's visibility versus responsibility. We want to give voice, and we want to share our stories and the information, so people have that readily available to them. We don't want you want people to be able to find like-minded people and not feel alone in this world, right? But we have a responsibility, and I think talking about surgeries in any case, or sexual parts in any case, for whatever reason, in a public area that's where kids are around, is not appropriate. And I don't know what her motives are. There are people saying that maybe she's doing this purposely because that's getting her more views, and that's funding her because she's causing so much controversy. But it is putting a very negative impact on the trans community, because that's just putting fire into what conservatives are saying. And there is a push for, like, labeling trans people as pedophiles, or just outrageous terms, right? And so, as someone in the trans community, she should be held, or she should hold herself to a higher accountability, and want to help the community, and not just be trying to, go viral and try to, cause controversy. You can do that in different ways, but you need to not feed into what conservatives are trying to throw on us or other people in the community.
Yeah. It's hard too because at the end of the day, like it's the conservatives that are the problem, like I mean that sounds okay. People being whatever, but like I'm not saying that we need to like live our lives just to appease conservatives and like fit in their little box, and so we're like the perfect little trans people because they're always going to be something they're going to hate us for. But I think in this circumstance, I think it's about intention, and I don't feel that her intentions are positive or
Yeah.
are well intentioned. I think she likes attention, obviously, and the way that she goes about things can be rude or just, you know, it, there's these moments you have where it's kind of like, what did you expect? you know, um, it's not in like a mean or malicious way, but it's, she's going into these restaurants. And this is also to say, like, I don't know if you notice, but it's a little strange when, like, there is no grown women who would dress like she does at Disneyland,
Hmm.
if that makes sense. Like, when you look at
Yep.
what she's wearing, she dresses like a little girl, but
Hmm.
obviously is not a little girl. And it's a little weird. and when she goes to restaurants and she gets misgendered like all the time.
Hmm.
I know she had like facial feminization surgery and she looks, a little more feminine now than she did previously. But, unfortunately, I don't know about you. Like, I was aware when I didn't pass. So I
Hmm.
didn't have these expectations of like strangers to gender me how I viewed myself, even when I was like 3 months on testosterone. It's like just because you're on hormones doesn't mean people are going to perceive you
Hmm.
instantly as the gender that you align with. It takes time. Unfortunately, for trans women, it takes a little bit more time and surgeries and effort to pass than just like trans women pass pretty easily by just taking testosterone. It's a powerful hormone.
Yeah.
So like I don't want to fault her or trans women, for not passing right away. No one does. But at the same time, it's just like I knew not to go into the men's restroom when I was early on in my transition. I knew not to expect people to gender me correctly in public before, I like passed, quote unquote. So it's just kind of weird that that's what she highlights the most. There's a lack of positivity uh, in general, and she's just like pointing out negativity. And yeah, I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it absolutely does, and I think there's a time and place. How would I say this? I think people get misgendered all the time. I think people are usually on autopilot too. So I've seen cis women who are very female looking, don't look like a man, but have been accidentally called sir just because the person ringing them up is like in a mind frame they're in, whatever. So like accidents happen, and also I think we also have to, if you aren't fully passing yet, or there can be, we have people who are non-binary, right? You know, there are certain people who are purposely misgendering you because they're
Yeah,
just assholes,
right.
and that's one thing. That's one thing to be like, hey, you're being an asshole, right?
Yeah,
But but we also have to be like, sometimes people just make mistakes, and you can have a conversation with them and say, hey, I'm sorry, I'm actually he him, or they them, or she her. You can have that conversation in a polite way. If it's someone who's you're going to be talking to, obviously if you're talking to a server, it probably doesn't really matter. Just obviously it hurts your own self image, or but I feel like people are more receptive if you come at them with like, hey, you called me this. I actually go by this, and I really would appreciate if you would try, and but the moment you're like, hey, you did this, that's wrong, they're going to get defensive and they're less likely to actually take in. And I feel like, in the trans community, we have taken so many strides and steps forward recently. And you know not that everyone deserves compassion, right? But yeah, I feel like going at it in a step where, like, let's try that first before going to attack mode, before getting defensive, um, can harbor a better result and potentially take someone who maybe didn't understand what trans meant or what non-binary means, and actually teach them in a way to where they can accept it, versus where, like, they feel like they're getting called out and being, called something negative, so they feel like they have to stand behind, what they said just to defend themselves.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think hit a point is that's very important is intention. Uh, I don't know. I mean, I can definitely tell a difference. Maybe in the beginning you're a little bit more sensitive to it because it's fresh and you're not passing as much. Like if I get misgendered now, I honestly think of it as like an accident. I mean, I haven't gotten misgendered.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the last time I was misgendered, but if I did get misgendered, I would be like, oh, that person. I don't know what's wrong with them. I probably wouldn't, take it a certain way. But it's also, yeah, people just, they make mistakes. And if that's their first interaction with a trans person and you're being rude about it and like demanding about it. And I think, even if I am misgendered in public, if it's a stranger, I don't even feel like it's worth my time or energy to correct them because I don't know them personally. I will never see this person again. Like, unless it's someone like working at my local coffee shop that I see every day, I'm just going to let it slide. And I'll save that conversation for people that are in my life. If there's still people in my life that are misgendering me, that's when I think it's more warranted to have a conversation with them because it's like about respect, blah, 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 despite whatever their beliefs are. But when it's, like a random person, there's plenty of times I got misgendered and I was just like, well, whatever. I'm not going to be around this person in a significant way. So whatever. But yeah.
And there's ways you can go about it too. If you're, say you're misgendered by like a server and you can tell it's intentional, don't leave them a tip, or leave a note on the receipt and be like, hey, that made me feel uncomfortable, or ask to talk to a manager, like you can do steps like that. But yeah, again, it's, we are so quick to become defensive ourselves when that can happen, that we assume the worst. We assume when someone misgenders us, it's because they're doing it intentionally, because that's what we expect. We expect that we're going to get harassed. We expect that we're going to be treated differently. So when that happens, even if it's an accident, in our heads, we're like, they did that on purpose, So, it's just having that, like, when that happens, you kind of have to take that breath and like, okay, was that really the case? And, if you're with a friend, be like, did that feel like that was intentional, or did that feel like that was a slip up? And have that conversation, and just try and, come at it in a way where it's like, this, it doesn't have to mean that it was a negative intentional attack. It could just be a slip up, and then trying to move on from there.
Yeah, for sure. And basically it's like just giving people the benefit of the doubt more times than not. That might sound, like we're just kind of rolling over and accepting and letting people walk on us, but I don't think the general majority is doing that necessarily. Maybe more so now because we've been in the spotlight in very negative ways. And I think maybe that's why when we look at someone like, what's her name again? Lily.
Yeah, well,
when we look at someone like her and we're thinking like, this is putting in, this is where the spotlight is coming from. This is what is representing the trans community right now. And it doesn't feel good when, that's the representation, because we know that people on, the more conservative side that that have it out for trans people for whatever reason, that's what they're going to put out there in the world. And, again, we can't live our lives like just worrying about conservatives getting a hold of our content and whatever. But I am conscious of it. For that reason, I haven't made like phalloplasty videos in a very long time. My old stuff is still up, but it's so magnified right now. And you got to know where you're at. And I'm just kind of like, I don't want that kind of attention. I don't want to end up on some conservative commenters' videos. I would prefer to just not. But I think when I think of someone who is like trans, but is a good representation, who I respect a lot. So Sarah McBride, the congresswoman, I don't know if you've heard about her at all, but she's basically the one Nancy Mace has been attacking from fucking day one, like relentlessly. Sarah McBride has been nothing but classy, has not even returned the fighting, has not resulted to name calling, and has just not participated in the bullshit. And I'm just like, what a fucking class act. That is such a great representative of our community, not giving that side any ammo. And she's just was like, I'm just focused on doing my job. And I'm just like, that's a lot more than most people in Congress can say.
No, but that's exactly it. Is they are trying to get ammo, so they are trying to do whatever they can to get a rise.
Right, and she even said that. I think there was some controversy about her, not fighting back when it came to the bathroom issue. People felt like she kind of betrayed the community because she didn't speak up or whatever. But in my opinion, I feel like the biggest act of rebellion is just being herself and doing what she prepared to do. And she's living her dream, her life as a trans person. And we all we want to reach that, where we just are doing our jobs, and she's just a Congress person who happens to be trans. She's not a trans person who is also in Congress, and the fact that she's just not stoking the fire, giving them any more ammo, because that they're trying to rile her up so that they can use that as like, oh, see, she's crazy, she's unfit. I mean, they were posting old photos of her and calling her by her previous name, saying she's a man and stuff, just completely unprovoked. She has never done anything to any of these people. She has only been there to do her job and represent her state. And it's just crazy. They're just keep going at it, but they haven't been able to say anything specific about her because she hasn't retaliated in any way. And they have purposely misgendered. There's footage when she's like speaking in front of Congress, whatever, and they, instead of saying like Congresswoman McBride, they'll literally say like Congressman McBride, and intentionally misgender it. And she just keeps going. She ignores it. Or there was one time where she said thank you, and like misgendered someone back. But that was like the one time. But it happened multiple times before she even did that.
Yeah.
And that was it. There was nothing else that occurred. So hopefully, I'd love to say that Nancy Mace is gonna run out of hate, but I'm pretty sure that is her lifeline. So I don't think it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of Republican Congress people are using trans people as their like ticket for social media or media altogether. It's like Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's like she's using the most craziest Jewish lasers and all that kinds of shit, just so she gets sound bites on TV. And I feel like that's what a lot of people are doing, is they're, and right now, trans people, we have the targets on our back, unfortunately.
Yeah. And it happened, I mean, I wouldn't say quickly, but because the Trump campaign, one of the main points they were running on was trans people. So we were put in the spotlight in a negative way for like before Trump ran this election period, people like just were completely ignorant mostly of trans people. I remember back in the day, back in like 2013, 2014, if I ever got, any like quote unquote hate or comments, it was genuine ignorance. Like they just didn't know. So they would be asking questions and I would try to, answer things as I could. But they don't even ask questions anymore. It's all assumptions. And people come at you with that energy of like, you are bad. You are going after our children because that's their thing, right? Like, save the children, save the kids, stay away from our kids. And it's just like, did we not just say we don't let them? Like we're not going to be around your kids unless we're like at Disney World and they're just everywhere. It's different. I have not experienced this amount of like hatred, but also misunderstanding, because the source that they're getting information about trans people, it's like it's meant to make us misunderstood, and it's impossible to kind of unravel or change those views of us, especially when people like Lily are going around doing exactly what they're saying we're doing, and that's where it gets hard.
Well, I know there's multiple states now that have changed the laws to where like you have to use the restroom, like the public restroom that's assigned with your gender at birth. And there's now been, from what I've seen, there's been at least 2 trans men who have used the women's bathroom because that's what's assigned with their gender at birth, and both have been assaulted and arrested for doing that, for following the law. So there's these laws that are being put in without really thought to how that is going to affect trans people, or it is with the thought of like they just don't care and they know that's going to cause an issue. But safety is becoming a huge issue for trans people in this country. And the sad thing is like people just need to use the bathroom. 10 years ago, I knew women who would just go into the men's bathroom because there was never a line, and so they would just go and pee. Like it wasn't an issue, and now all of a sudden it's like, this huge thing where it's like people just have to use the bathroom. Right. I'm not going in there to look at anyone go to the bathroom. I'm just trying to get in and get out,
Right.
And I usually have like super anxiety going into public bathrooms because but
Oh yeah.
so it's just this whole fake scheme of like predators in the bathroom. It's like that's not true.
Right.
You have more of an issue with priests than you have with people and trans people in the bathroom.
It's true. Yeah, that's the most maddening part. It's just like you pretend to be for protecting children, yet who has the highest incidence of being child predators? The people in your churches.
Yep.
And they just will not acknowledge that. There's so much. It's very hypocritical, and they're very blind to cognitive dissonance. It's huge, and I think it's hard because I mean, like, if I was to go to a state where it's against the law to use the bathroom of the sex you're assigned at birth, whatever, I'm just going to go off of how I'm perceived. Common sense, right? I'm obviously going to be perceived in a negative light if I use the women's bathroom. So I'm going to break the fucking law so I don't get hassled, I think that's just a suggestion, guys. Just be careful, like, if you know how you're perceived, if you have not been misgendered in like years, do not use those women's restroom now. Yeah. Anywho, anything else to add to that one?
I think I know we probably could do just a whole episode just on that.
Yeah.
No, I think we should move on to the next topic, which I think you should bring up.
Oh, which I mean, we could also we could use that one to kind of go into the Simone Biles
Yeah.
and Riley Gaines one, since we're kind of already on that.
All right. Yeah. If you want to take it away.
Yeah. So right now there is. We'll talk about the Elon versus Trump fight, but right now the more the one that's out there is the Simone Biles versus Riley Gaines, and Simone is the, I think, 11-time gold medalist or whatever, gymnastics hero person. You know, she's like the Kobe of gymnastics.
Yeah.
Or Michael Jordan of gymnastics, whatever. And Riley is not. Riley is a 5th place tire. I think it was college swimming, but she tied with a trans woman for 5th place, Leah Thomas to be exact. And ever since, she has been on one to basically just scream at any trans woman that, you know, is participating in sports or not, and has been very vocal about that, but not in a respectful way, not in a like, let's have a conversation way. And I think that's the thing with like when it comes to conservative commentators, I think they care more about attention than actually coming at things to solve problems. They don't give a fuck about actually finding a solution. It's just, how can we insult other people and laugh at them, and instead of having an actual respectful conversation. But just to give some context, so let me see if I can bring up the latest, see if there's been any new developments. But basically, you know, Riley Gaines was on her usual attacking trans women. The most recent one was there was a trans woman softball player, and it was I don't know if it was a college. Let me look it up. I don't want to not misgender, but let's see here. It might have been college or high school softball. I need to double check on that one. Now I'm scrolling all the bullshit. Okay. Oh yeah. So Minnesota State High School League. So they won the championship, and I think the pitcher happens to be a trans woman. I wouldn't even say woman, like they're girls still, you know. They're very young, and she made it a point to single out the high school student. I'm not even sure if they're a minor, which is kind of ridiculous in my opinion, to be on full display for the internet to attack. And it's funny because if they wanted to actually be respectful about it, they wouldn't just come out and be like, this man is competing in women's sports. They would say this trans woman. And it's like, it's okay for you to have an opinion, but be respectful about it. Don't just come out from the gate with insults and disrespect. That's not going to get anywhere or do anything. So I think Simone Biles, maybe she came across it and she's just like, fuck this, I've had enough. And she defended trans people. But the biggest thing that's, you know, been so controversial is that when Simone, you know, tweeted back at Riley, she said, bully someone your own size, which would ironically be a male. So they took that and just flew with it and were like, so you're saying there's a difference, you know, between men and women in sports? Like you admitted that there was a difference. And also, you know, they saw it as body shaming and stuff like that. Because of course they're going to take the moment to be a victim when they can. So now there's a bunch of people saying, you know, okay, so one of the last things that Simone said to Riley, because of some of the words that she was choosing to use and etc., Simone said, you're truly sick, all of this campaigning because you lost a race. Straight up sore loser. You should be uplifting the trans community and perhaps finding a way to make sports inclusive, or creating a new avenue where trans feel safe in sports. Maybe a transgender category in all sports, but instead you bully them. One thing for sure is no one in sports is safe with you around. And it's funny because just by those statements, you know that, Simone isn't exactly, educated. She
Mhm.
just was like, you know what, this is bullshit. I feel like this is wrong, and she said something. Um, Unfortunately, one of the things she said, probably wasn't really thinking in the moment. We aren't all always thinking when we say something.
Yeah.
Uh,
But again, that's jumping off on intention.
right. I think the trans community definitely knows her intention, because I've not seen anyone in the trans community, have an issue with it. I think we were just happy to see someone that's a very popular figure in sports stand up, even if it's to say, maybe we need to have a trans category. And I know there's a lot of controversy around that in the trans community itself. But the thing is, maybe she's not the most educated on it, but her intention is there,
Mhm.
and she is being kind about it to the trans community. And that's the biggest difference. Like, Riley is not kind, and she doesn't have good intentions. If she did, she wouldn't be constantly being like, this man, or, pointing out, a kid essentially. Are they 18? I don't even know. And blasting him on the internet for all her followers to, insult. So,
Yeah. I mean, even if she is 18, she's still in high school. And so like that's also like, just because someone is legally an adult, like they're still in high school. They're still a kid.
yeah. And I saw someone said that she transitioned when she was like 9 and never went through male puberty. I would not have ever known that she was trans, but I don't even know how Riley knows, honestly. So it's sad, uh, because I think there's definitely some nuance to the trans sports situation. But I do feel like, if someone transitioned young, even if there was a potential, um, unfairness, potential advantage for a trans woman, I don't feel like someone who didn't even go through male puberty is going to have an advantage, especially in a sport like softball.
Mhm.
It's not a contact sport, so
Yeah.
there's no risk of people getting hurt. Um, I have confidence that women can hit a softball that's thrown a little faster. I don't know what it's like. Are you shitting on women by saying like they're too weak to
Mhm.
deal with someone who transitioned before even hitting puberty? Like, that's kind of an insult to women, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Um,
I've known, women athletes who play softball who can throw a ball harder than men can. So,
I mean, one of my best friends was an Olympic softball player. She was strong as fuck. Like, she was stronger than a lot of the guys at CrossFit. I am not even fucking with you. Her upper body was insane. Just naturally had that strength. And I feel like a lot of athletes that make it to that level are like genetic freaks in a good way, in the best way. But to call out someone in high school, and it's high school, it's not even that fucking serious.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know what your opinion is on that, but I'm team Simone for sure.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. And I think, again, it's that intent. So I think sometimes, people don't always, we don't always say the right thing, but if the intent is coming from the right place, that's where you have to have a little compassion and forgiveness if something is said in the wrong way. And I'm not an athlete, so you might have, as a trainer, you might have more insight to it. I don't know what the, I don't say genetic, but I don't know what the difference is with a trans person versus a cis person in sports. I don't know if there's something that is monitored or needs to be monitored, if if it's a trans woman, if they need to, if they monitor testosterone levels so it looks like they're not taking whatever. I don't know what processes there already are, or what processes there could be, but I definitely think there needs to be more compassion for sure, and it needs to be less of an attack. And there can be a conversation. If there is something that's unfair, we can look into it and scientifically find out if there is an unfairness, and then how would we fix that. But I think it's just it's not the unfairness, or if there is an unfairness, I think it's just another reason to this Riley person. I think it's putting a victimized tale, and also giving her an excuse to why she lost. She didn't lose because she wasn't good enough. She lost because she was going up against a trans athlete. It's like, well, that trans athlete got fifth with you. Like,
right? Who
you
won?
weren't. Yeah,
that's this woman.
You didn't, yeah. So like, maybe you need to just step your game up.
Exactly. That's what people like. I've been saying, like, people saying, like, Riley, you tied for fifth. Guess who got fourth, third, second, and first?
Mm-hmm.
Cis women. So it's like you still would have lost.
Yeah.
You don't see anyone who is an Olympic gold medalist, or who actually is like good at their sport, where they're placing in the top 3, being angry about trans women in sports, because honestly they're more focused on what they're doing. They don't have enough time and energy to focus on the small percentage of trans women that are actually competing. And that's another thing, is they make it out to be this kind of like epidemic.
Mm-hmm.
There's thousands of trans women just transitioning just to like play against women and stuff like that. And it's like, that just isn't reality. And despite your opinion on if they have an unfair advantage, the facts are there's not actually that many to really be super concerned about. Like, if there was thousands upon thousands, like, sure, that's a little weird, but there just isn't. It's just a distraction. Like, we're just the scapegoat for everything right now. So that's where we've come to. And then also at the end of the day, like, I think you have to be careful about who she's insulting or whatever, because some of these trans kids are in high school, and it's hard enough being a kid in high school. I fucking hated high school, and then to be a target, be blasted on the internet, like
Nationwide.
back in my day, if like you were a dude who was just slightly feminine or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
you would get bullied and made fun of. So I very highly doubt that like these high school age kids are transitioning just to compete and win in sports. Like, no one thinks that way.
It's not worth it.
No, it's so much. Like, fuck no. Like, I don't know one dude who was like, I suck at this, I'm gonna transition so I can win. So yeah.
Well, and jumping off of that, Cody, I'm interested to hear your thoughts of what is your opinion on there being transgender leagues or categories in sports. I just saw a Facebook post by another trans guy that I follow. His name is Val, and he organized like the first all trans rugby game. I think this is on the East Coast, but it's like, I think the third year or something that the post was talking about. But it all trans didn't matter if you were trans woman, a trans man, or non-binary. It was, you're all just playing together. So like, what is your thoughts on that?
That one's tough, because it's like, at the same time, you want the whole equality situation. You just want to be an average person. You just want to blend in and, play the sport you want to play with that aligns with your gender. But on the other hand, to take out any potential possibility of, advantages, disadvantages, whatever, it's not something I'm completely against, because I grew up, playing sports as an athlete. I just wanted somewhere to play. Like, I just wanted to play the sport. So at the end of the day, like, if that was an option, and it's somewhere I felt safe to do so, and I could still play the sport that I love to play, I would love to at least have the option, and I wouldn't get hassled for it, which would be nice. And I have, promoted and competed in a trans only bodybuilding competition. And I've done, a regular bodybuilding competition where I'm competing with cis guys. And as a trans man, you're not as much on the radar. We're not going to really care as much because they don't feel like you have an advantage. They usually just think you have a disadvantage. So they're like, whatever. But, or they just don't notice. But there is like a difference in feeling you feel safer. And there's a sense of camaraderie. And so, I'm not completely against it. There's just, there is that feeling of like, oh, people don't see us as equals if we are creating separate categories and stuff like that. But there's the athlete part of me. It's just like, I would prefer a place to play rather than like a ban or nothing at all. But there's just not enough of us.
I was going to say, is there enough to even form a team for each, sport? So
yeah, there's just not. So that's the
at least
problem.
At that high of a level.
Right. And that's like a thing that a lot of, people on the left and the right that, are just going to touch on the topic. Like, why don't they just create their own categories? And they say that because they think it's a bigger thing than it is. They think there's more of us than there are because we're all over the news lately. Like, there's so many of you. You're everywhere. Create your own spaces. And it's like, it really isn't. It just looks like that because you're always talking about us.
Because they're hyper focused.
What do you think?
No, I agree. I think, I don't think there's enough. We need to start, gaining more people. No, there's not a. We need to start recruiting, just what they want us to do. Right? Think we're doing. I'm going to put some trans potion in the water.
Yes, the trans agenda.
No, I think it would be good to have. It doesn't have to be trans. I think having LGBTQ plus local sports would be a good first step. And I think there might be I think in Sacramento or in California at least, I know that I've seen some like gay softball teams or kickball teams. I don't know if they're open to like the whole category. But I think that's a good start to like, not just for people who are trans athletes, but just people who want to feel that camaraderie and being able to play, sports with other people and feel comfortable in their skin and comfortable, using their pronouns or, whatever. I think that, is a good thing. I think on a higher level, again, there's not enough high performing athletes, I think, for each sport for that to actually happen. But definitely, just having more inclusivity in sports, and there can be the conversation of if someone is if you have someone who's just outperforming everybody by miles, then yeah, that's something you look into. But I think that's the same with cisgender people in sports. If you see someone who's hitting fucking home runs like back to back, they're like, okay, are you taking supplements, or what are you doing? Yeah, exactly. So like there's things that can be done, but it is just a very unfortunate, tricky situation right now.
Yeah. And well, now they're coming up, they have the enhanced Olympics. So it's basically like a free for all. You get to do all the drugs you want to do. And whoever, wins. And I think that is fantastic. And because I'm sorry, but people in the Olympics are using drugs anyway. They just have to be creative and not get caught.
We just need to get Elon Musk in there on his ketamine and, see him playing some sports.
Oh my God, it'd be a disaster. But, the enhanced Olympics is a very interesting concept that I think is great because people now just do drugs in the open, and it levels the playing field because there's no one like, okay, we have to seek out the doctor who knows how to get past the drug test. I don't know if you ever watched any of like Lance Armstrong's documentaries of how they did all the doping and shit. It's like an underground thing. It is a thing. They all do it. It's just a matter of like who can get away with it, who's the best one on drugs. It's already like that. So to open it up and just make it like allowed, it's interesting. And I think we're going to get like a realistic view of who actually is the best.
Yeah.
Versus who's got the best drug doctor. So yeah. There's something else I was going to go off on. Oh yeah. Another thing is there's another option of people have said, why don't we just make sports co-ed? And there are a lot of co-ed leagues, but I think that we'd still run into the same problem because usually with co-ed leagues, there's a certain amount of women you need to have and a certain amount of men. So what if one team like has three trans women and like like then they're gonna be like,
there's too many men.
Yeah, it'll be the same thing all over again. So yeah, unfortunately, I don't think that would work. It'd be fun. It'd be interesting to see how that went, but
well, yeah, and I think most sports, I'm surprised that we don't have more co-ed. Like unless it's like a real contact sport like football, basketball, we should have co-ed leagues. Soccer, why not have co-ed leagues? I mean, soccer is a little bit, I've played co-ed soccer and I've seen some women though like nail some guys. So I think it's
more even because women have strong lower bodies. It's the upper body that is not so much, but like women can kick pretty fucking hard, and so I would say soccer is they're pretty, not completely on the same playing field, but pretty fucking close.
Yeah.
In comparison to like women's basketball, upper body strength, not as much there. So you can physically tell the difference. But yeah, it would be fun to see how that went, co-ed wise. I would watch that shit. Like professional co-ed leagues would be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that'd be entertaining for sure.
Yeah. Anywho, should we jump on to the next topic?
I thought you were going to say, should we start our own league?
Oh, yeah, that too. Let's see. So, you want to talk about the next one?
Sure. So kind of following into the same category, I guess you could say, unfortunately, the actor, make sure I get his name right, Jonathan Joss, who is mostly known for being the voice of John Redcorn on King of the Hill. He was murdered this last week. He was shot by his neighbor, and originally the police said that there was no evidence of it being a hate crime. But the police just did a press conference a day or two ago saying that they were wrong in making that judgment so early. And the husband of Jonathan came out. He wrote a post, and it does sound like it was very targeted. There were some anti gay slurs that were being thrown at him before the shooting happened, and apparently harassment had been happening for a while and threatening of arson. So it's just another situation where you're it's not just the trans community who's feeling targeted. It's definitely LGBTQ plus people as a whole. There's just a target on all of our backs. We are looking at gay marriage being most likely going to be repealed. We're looking at people's rights being taken away. You're looking at states who are threatening to make it illegal to be trans. If you go into their state, you would get arrested and labeled as a sex offender, right? So it's this height of excuse me, this height of hate that is going towards the community, that is leading to violence is really scary. I'm not happy, but I am glad that the San Antonio police did do a press conference and did state that it was their mistake to initially say that it wasn't a hate crime, and they took that back. But I think that's something that it's just really sad. It's something that shouldn't have happened, and we're seeing a lot more of that right now in this climate.
Yeah, for sure. And something unfortunate that I have noticed too is that they've actually turned some of the LGBT community against each other, or at least the LBG. There's I feel like a growing percentage that wants to throw the T, the trans, under the bus and be like, you ruined it for us. You took things too far. You messed with kids, and now everyone hates the community. So it's almost like they've turned on us in order to preserve themselves and like their rights and their image, which is unfortunate. And it's sad because I feel like we all used to kind of be together, and now even our own community is splitting. But yeah, I don't know what to do about that one, but
It's very sad. It just happens, like, this happened literally. It was the night we were in Florida. We got into Florida, and we were trying to watch something before we went to bed, and I don't know why I was like, let's watch King of the Hill. I haven't watched it since like I would see like reruns of it on TV, and I never really watched it because I was too young and didn't get the humor. And so we started watching it, and I loved it. I was like, oh, this is hilarious. I always thought the show was more conservative, and then now I'm watching it, I'm like, oh no, it's a satire on conservatives. It's actually pretty hilarious. But yeah, so we watched it, and then he died the next day. So I don't know.
That's nutty.
I might have caused it. I don't know.
He had a weird little premonition or something.
Yeah. So I just I, not that anyone is going to see this, but a heartfelt so I feel really bad for his husband, his family, and I hope that the person who committed this gets what they deserve.
Yeah. Well, I would love to say I hope things get better, but I feel like it's going to be a while.
Yeah.
There's been some damage done,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Speaking of damage, I think, our last topic, Elon Musk versus Donald Trump. And that's been the drama of the week for sure. I'm sure everyone's probably seen most of what's been going back and forth. And now there's like a Team Musk versus Team Trump. And I'm just like, I'm on team nobody. I just want to see you fucking destroy each other.
Oh gosh. Yeah. It's I'd like to say that that wasn't something that anyone saw coming, but it's definitely what everyone saw coming.
Yeah, they did. There were rumors for quite some time, and they had to keep like addressing them, be like, we're fine, and then before you know it, Elon Musk is accusing Donald Trump of being on the Epstein list, like in public. The way he said it, I'm gonna give him a little credit. It was hilarious because he was like, "Have a good day, DJT." It's like he just knew the button to push.
Yeah.
And that definitely started this implosion of like MAGA people being like, "Oh, what side do we take?" And the majority, of course, choose Trump because he's their cult leader.
Exactly.
You got to be loyal to your leader. Yeah, now they're being like, oh, the left is going to start buying Teslas again. And it's like, no, dude, like, we're just here for the entertainment. Yeah. We want to see you like fight each other because it's great.
Tesla lost me at the Cybertruck. I saw that and I was like, that is just a dumpster fire. Like,
it's
I
like
don't know.
The ugliest thing.
And I see them so much around here. There's supposed to be only like 4,000 sold in the US or something like that. Really? And I swear there's
I see them a lot.
I swear there's like probably 3,000 of them are here. Yeah, I see them all the time, and I'm like, they're the most ugly looking things, and like they don't work. Like, I don't know why anyone would want one of those.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a mix of being in California and then also being kind of in mixed areas where there is money, where like people can afford them. Because I definitely see them a good amount around here, and but as far as I called that Donald Trump was going to accuse Elon of being on drugs and stuff, which it's funny because uh, it's like 1 minute they're defending him, the other minute it's like, oh, he was on drugs, he's crazy, he doesn't know what he's saying, and
It's like also you hired him and put him in charge of like all of our data, so that didn't bother
right,
you back then.
right. There's and you have to, he's mad because of the bill, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we also have to remember that he's mad because they're not doing as many cuts as he wants. So uh, it could mean being even worse off for people who need it, like healthcare benefits and SNAP benefits and stuff like that. He could be mad because they're not cutting enough versus being mad about what is actually in the bill. So it's not like he's on our side because he's going against Donald Trump. That's not what's happening here. So that's why it's like I don't have a side. I'm just here to watch shit go down.
Yeah, let them just burn each other. Mm-hmm. We'll just watch with our popcorn. Yeah, I think the last I saw was Steve Bannon is now pushing for him to get deported.
Yeah, and it's like, well, way to like give yourself away that you don't care about deporting American citizens because he is a citizen now. Mm-hmm. So it's like, oh, you're not deporting citizens, right?
Oh, that's a whole nother topic to get into.
Oh yeah, it is. We can cover that one next time. But yeah, I don't. The thing is, I don't think anything is going to come of the situation because people are so loyal to Trump. I think Elon tweeted out something like, I will apologize when all the Epstein files are dropped. And I think he knows that's never going to happen. So there's no way for Trump to really actually clear his name unless he actually drops those unredacted. So I think he deleted that tweet, but I was like, that's fair.
It's already out. I think I also saw, I don't know if it's still happening, but he got Trump's account banned on Twitter.
Really?
Yeah, I saw something. I don't know if that's verified, but I saw that yesterday.
That would be funny because it was already banned, but he brought him back. But maybe he rebanned him.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can find out. Donald Trump. No, he's still on there.
Then maybe it's back.
Yeah, maybe that was just rumors if that would be funny because it would be funny, but no. Yeah, so he mostly just writes on his Truth Social profile, and then he probably has someone else post it to Twitter for him, or there's an account that just reposts all of his Truth Social posts. So it's interesting loop of how to find out what he's saying. But yeah, that would be kind of funny if he rebanned him from Twitter. Any last topics or opinions you'd like to express?
I think, jumping back in onto the trans topic, I don't know if you've seen the rumor of the Zelda movie that's supposed to be being worked on. The rumor has it that trans actress Hunter Schafer is in the running to play Princess Zelda. And I think that's an excellent choice because if you look at her versus Princess Zelda, it's exactly the same. So I think that's perfect casting. I think she's also an amazing actress. I don't know if you've watched Euphoria. You should watch it. Trigger warning, it's strong content, but it's very powerful stuff, and she's amazing in it. But yeah, I think that would be an amazing choice if that's true. Of course, with that, tons of people started jumping in on comments and, not only misgendering her, but, just making a huge thing about it. Whereas the actual gaming community have actually been pushing for Hunter Schafer to play Zelda because of the likeness. So, it's just that whole thing. I think someone said it's people are upset by it because they are realizing that they are attracted to a trans woman. So I'm all for it. I hope that it's true, and I hope that she gets the part because I do think she would be perfect for it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned that, and it's funny just to show how like shallow conservatives can be. So she was the one that, had her passport come back as male, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Which is crazy. You would never know. Like, you just wouldn't, she
Yeah.
transitioned young and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when she posted that, there was like conservatives that like tried to troll her, but then
Mm-hmm.
I read the comments and it was pretty drastically different in comparison to what you'd see. Yeah, if a conservative commentator reposted Lily whatever's videos and they would just trash her. And then
Mm-hmm.
I saw these comments that were different that were like, I wouldn't mind if she was in the bathroom with us. Like all these things because she's
Uh-huh.
like attractive. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
you shallow motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Like that's what you care the most about is like what someone looks like their
Mm-hmm.
attractiveness. And that's how they end up accepting people because of how they look, just solely on how they look.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's just bizarre, but not really. I mean, predictable.
But
um,
also, Princess Zelda is an elf, so she's not even a human. So it shouldn't matter who plays them because it's not a human female; it's an elf.
yeah. So hey, they can just be mad. But I thought it was also kind of interesting because they're on one hand, it's almost like they want to accept those who pass completely without question, and they're kind of like, hey, that's fine. But they're also against people transitioning young.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the way to achieve that, especially as a trans woman, is generally to transition at least before you go through full male puberty. But at the same time, they're like against that. But that's how they want trans people to look in order to be accepted. But yet they don't want that to happen. It's fucking confusing.
I feel like they need to stop putting so much money and funds behind anti-trans agendas, and maybe just putting more funds into making sure that there's proper therapy and proper outlets for youth who might be questioning and making sure that there is I don't know if there's a right or wrong way, but making sure that there are um every proper step for figuring out if someone is trans or non-binary, and what those steps are, and trying to make sure that they have all the education they need to make those proper choices without and I don't know, I think that would be a stronger use of funds than trying to target and assault or hurt or put in danger other trans people.
Yeah, for sure. That's the part where it's like they don't actually want solutions. They just want to trash people.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So it's like if you guys actually want to create change and have a conversation, be respectful, and chances are it'll be more productive. But instead, you'd rather just comment on people on how they look and trash them. But yeah, I think what you're referring to a lot of times is controversy as well because people are like, "Oh, that's gatekeeping." But there's steps in every part of like a medical process. Kind of like no matter what it is that you're going through medically, there's steps, there's hoops you have to jump through, and obviously, I feel like it's dangerous if we have no hoops. But sometimes it can be dangerous if there's too many, depending on someone's mental state or whatever. But I think that's where therapy comes into play. But unfortunately, conservatives are still like, oh, all these woke therapists are only affirming what their gender dysphoria instead of helping them work through trauma or other things that could potentially lead to having gender dysphoria or whatever. It's a hard call. You can't win no matter what. I think is the main issue when it comes to conservatives, because I'm a huge proponent of therapy for anyone, not just trans
Mhm.
people. I think the conservatives, MAGA, could use some fucking therapy. Uh,
Well, I think
but
it's also it's a control thing. I think we have to look at it as, you know, what someone does to their body. It's none of our business. If that's what makes them happy, then that's what makes them happy. As long as it doesn't affect other people, that it's not none of our business. And if it's something that they regret after they do it, that's something they have to live with or they have to deal with. It's not something that necessarily is everyone's story. So it's just, yeah, I think there needs to be more push for therapy and making sure that people have a safe space, and a safe place to learn and get that information, and making sure that they have the steps and the support system to make those decisions, and then also the support system that if that's not the right decision, that they're still going to have a support system. They're not going to, you see, it's not always the case, but you see, you know people who are identify as lesbian, and then they see trans people, or they think that, oh, maybe that's what I am, so they go that, and then they end up trying to transition, and then that's not what they want, and they detransition. So I don't know what steps can be done for that to be prevented, so at least they're not going through that. But also, just like, there needs to not be hate on if someone detransitions, or because I detransitioned, everybody should detransition, because like, it's everyone has a different journey, and we should just all respect everyone's journeys and just be there as a support.
yeah, for sure. And I think a big mistake is thinking that I feel like their mind is set that there's this 100% foolproof way to prevent mistakes from happening. I think we just need to accept that there probably is going to be a small percentage that slips through the cracks, because it does happen, but banning it for all, you know, younger individuals or adult individuals across the board is not going to be a good idea. That's like banning plastic surgery, because some people are going to regret it. No one ever
Mm-hmm.
has that conversation. No one's like, let's ban rhinoplasties, or like,
Mm-hmm.
let's ban boob jobs, because some people regret it.
Because men like the boob jobs, they're not gonna ban that.
Right. So there's always going to be some risk. But that's why, like, we haven't come up with the perfect formula yet to get people through the steps without question. I don't know if there ever will be, but we're gonna probably learn more as we go. But again, banning it's gonna hurt more people than you know where we're currently at, basically. That's
I
what I
agree.
think, at least. So, anywho,
On
should we
on
wrap
that
it up, or
Yeah,
should
on that depressing note, I know you're not a TikToker yet, so we need to get you up to date. But as the Twitter aficionado, what has been the big thing on your Twitter feed this week, besides what we've already discussed?
besides, I mean, that's been the biggest thing. So the Simone Biles and Riley Gaines and the Elon and Trump things that all happened on Twitter. So that's why it's, the biggest thing happening there. Um, yeah, I think, that's outside of that, that's been all I've seen, currently. But yeah, how about TikTok? We need to trade
Yeah.
spots and get,
So my TikTok, my For You page is a little scattered. So mine goes between the Karen Reed trial, which has been very entertaining, and then the musical Death Becomes Her has been pretty much on my feed all the time. So if you like musicals, if you don't like musicals, the musical based off the movie Death Becomes Her, starring what's her name, Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn, and Bruce Willis. The musical is amazing. You can listen to the soundtrack, and I haven't seen the musical obviously because I'm not in New York and I don't have the funds to go to New York. Although I went to Florida, but it is great. It is hilarious, and I'm going to start sending you a bunch of videos so you can learn all the TikTok sounds that are now being pulled from that musical. That's pretty much been the highlight of my feed has been clips from that musical. That's what's getting me through the day.
I'll have to check it out. Or you can send me some.
Yeah,
I'll just send you tweets that are depressing in return. So
all right, we'll balance each other out.
Yes. Yeah. So should we wrap it up?
All right.
All right. Do you want to close it out?
Sure. Thank you for joining the DSC, the Doom Scroll Club. Hopefully we haven't bored your brains off too much. But if there are any topics, any doom scrolling that you have experienced and you want us to cover, please let us know and we'd be happy to look into them. Again, we are not experts in anything. Especially myself. So if we get anything wrong, please forgive us. We do like to take criticism, and we'll learn if we make any mistakes. But please, again, take it with compassion and not a direct attack if we get something wrong. And we hope to have more episodes for you.
Yeah, all about the intention as we
talked about. Intention.
Give us the benefit of the doubt, guys. All right. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Peace.